For every adventure, the podcast that dives deep into everything outdoor.
What a great episode, Kyle.
Lots of fun. We had a great chat about holiday resorts, the do's and the don'ts, the interesting stories. Never go on Wimpy's plot. That's a big thing we learned. And we also reviewed a few great products for you to take with when you take the family for that December holiday. Also, the different types of resorts. There's so much. You know, the thing is, just listen to the episode. Let's dive in.
For every adventure. An outdoor podcast experience brought to you by Outdoor Warehouse.
Hey, welcome to the podcast For Every Adventure. I'm Kyle. Hello, Chanel.
Hi, Kyle.
How you doing?
No, good, and you?
Fantastic. Today, we are visiting a holiday resort, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Do you have some experience with holiday resorts?
Yes, I've been to resorts.
Okay.
I think I've got a little bit more resort experience than camping experience, actually.
Okay.
But I quite enjoy it. Love resort living.
Well, share a bit of your experience.
I must say, I think most of it was sort of as a day visitor, but the Godini being the closest one to us here in Cape Town, it was one of our favorites as kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then here and there we had to, with the music and the singing, you have to travel a little bit. So
Okay.
I've done some performances at resorts, which is always lovely.
Nice. Okay. That's most of my experience also comes from not the singing part, because then everyone would leave the resort, but more like the sound part.
Okay.
Well, it actually goes back further than that, because I was thinking about, my experience with resorts, and it actually brings back a lot of good memories.
Yes.
So the first one takes me back when I was like 14 years old. And a friend of mine came with me and the family we went to Oudtshoorn first, and then we went to Hartenbos, which was maybe 2 nights, but a lot of fun. And, that sort of got me thinking, well, firstly, this friend, at that stage, we were like friends for 4 years. Okay. And we saw each other Saturday. So that's quite cool. The resorts and the memories sort of bring back that nostalgic feel, which I think it's a big part of doing holiday resorts regularly. And the other thing that it brings back is the work aspect. So I went to Hartenbos one December, did a sound setup for a show somewhere. And then, as you said, Godini Spa. Mm-hmm. I've been there a few times also with work. And with one of those trips, we were just through the tunnel and we had a bus full of sound equipment and a tire burst on our way there. So it was sort of a chaotic thing, and we got there just in time to do the sound setup by the pool. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think as a kid, it's the most amazing place because you have this freedom. And I think, being outside with the pools, and if there are slides and things, it's one of the best memories that you can actually make as a resort holiday.
What type of things do you look for in a holiday resort? How do you choose where you go?
Oh, I'm all about the whole comfort thing. So I would go and look at the accommodation, what it looks like, and then activities.
And convenience.
Yes.
Because you don't have to plan too much. I think, I could be wrong. We've got an expert who's going to chat with us soon, but I reckon the prep for a resort holiday isn't that intensive, because you've got to shop there and you sort of know the place maybe if you're a regular goer.
Yeah, I think we should find out.
I think we should definitely do that. So we have Reinhard on today, and we'll be chatting to him after this.
The seasons are turning, and here at Outdoor Warehouse, we are getting ready for the summer sun and outdoor cooking. Keep your food items cool and fresh with our amazing assortment of cooler boxes, fridges, freezers, and thermoelectric coolers. And keep the fire burning with our braai essentials like grids, bread pots, and gas lighters. Make summer cooking easy and affordable, no matter where the adventure takes you this summer. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. For every adventure. The official Outdoor Warehouse podcast that brings you everything you need to know for your next adventure.
Very excited to introduce our guest today, Reinhard du Plessis, General Manager of Marketing at the ATKV Resorts. So no better person to talk to about resorts in South Africa than Reinhard. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. It's great being here.
So Reinhard, there must be a love for holiday resorts. Is it something you grew up doing?
I can remember a very specific instance. I was 10 years old and we were living in Cape Town at that time. Ek is 'n Bellville kind.
Yes,
Louis
okay.
Leipold Hospitaal.
Nice.
Same.
Same, okay.
Yes.
And my dad took us through to Gautini Spa. Now, at that point, it wasn't part of, if I remember correctly, it wasn't yet part of the ATKV group of resorts, or it might have been. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember going on holiday there. And normally, when we went on holiday as a family, it wouldn't necessarily have been resorts. We did resorts a couple of times. It would normally be hotels. My dad's more of a hotel guy. But I very specifically remember the heated pools and the mineral spring pools at Gautini, kind of being in and around those mountains, the super tube, and not much has changed there. I remember when I started working for the group and I did my first sort of visit to Gautini Spa, I was like overwhelmed with this like deja vu. I was like, wow, this looks very much the way that it used to look when I was there when I was 10. So not something we grew up with, but went to some of the ATKV resorts. I think some of them were called Rondalia. Vir die van ons wat oud genoeg is, Rondalia resorts at that point. But mostly it was a hotel thing.
Okay, I have a good story with Gautini Spa. So I was there for work one day, and I think we stayed overnight, and we had some time in the day where we didn't have to work. So we went to the pool and had a nice swim, but I forgot my swimsuit. Okay. So I went to the shop and I got the ugliest swimsuit on earth. There were like palm trees on it and beer bottles, and I loved that swimsuit. And I used it until it just wasn't usable anymore. So if you're ever there, do it. Get yourself a nice.
You'd be surprised how many people do that.
And that's the convenience.
We have a lot of people that do that.
Yeah. That's the convenience of resort. If you forget something, it's a good chance you can just go to the shop and sort yourself out. Hey, Reinhard, so how did you get involved with the ATKV?
I worked in media for a very long time. And there was a specific event that the company I was working for then was hosting. And I happened to kind of spend a lot of time with the then CEO of the ATKV group, Japie Gous, during the course of this event. It was kind of running over a weekend. And I remember at some point he said to me, look, they've recently their marketing manager had gone on to new opportunities, and they had this vacancy. Would I be interested in applying? And I did. A couple of weeks later, I received the ad and I applied for it. And then after the interview, I'll be honest, quite a couple of months went by. I had forgotten that I had actually gone for the interview. And then I got a call from HR from the ATKV going, hey, remember that interview you came for? We'd like to offer you the position. I was like, hold up, what was this again? They had to remind me because it was quite a time had gone past between the interview and that call. And I was very excited to join. It's something that I haven't done before. The hospitality industry is very, very different, and to what I was used to at the time. And that's kind of how I joined.
That's fantastic. How long have you been with them?
Too long would be the correct answer.
That long?
It's been more than a decade. It's been more than a decade. Yeah,
okay.
I've been here, I think, 12 years now.
I see. Okay. Then you would be the right person to ask. Can you see if there's sort of a trend as opposed to the past? Are there more people leaning toward
Very
resort
definitely.
holidaying? Or, how can you compare it to camping, for instance?
Very much a change that was enforced both economically, but also because of COVID. So what we've seen is prior to COVID, the economic factor was starting to make an impact at that point. So what we would see is people that normally went overseas on holidays, so they would go to Europe or they would go to North America, started to come through to the resorts. And how we know is they would talk to us and say, no, look, this is the first time at the resort over a school holiday, for example, December. And they would tell us, no, it's their first time that they're having a December school holiday trip in South Africa. Because normally they would go overseas, and they chose us.
Okay.
And we started seeing that more and more and more. People that normally would have gone or in Africa, they might be going up to the Serengeti or something to that effect, had started to come through to South Africa or have their holidays in South Africa. So that was the first one we saw. And then the second trend that we saw was the length of stay, which is now an industry term. So just kind of, how long people stay when they do go on holiday. And that's not just us, it's kind of an industry-wide thing, is that period has become shorter. To give an idea, over a December, we would call it the resort's turn. So we turn them sort of every 2 weeks. So during the typical December school holiday, which is kind of a 6-week period, you'd see 3 groups of guests, right? So there's the first group that comes in right as the school closed. They're there for about 2 weeks. Then it turns just before kind of that Christmas, between Christmas and New Year, it turns. You'll have a second group come in, and then a third group again just before the schools open.
Okay.
That stay length has shortened dramatically. It's not as long as it used to be. And the final trend we're seeing is how long before people arrive they book. Usually they would book months in advance. Now it's kind of a 40 to 21 day period. So it's very, very, it's a lot closer to what it used to be in the past. And I think that's just because of, what if something happens and I can't go?
Yes.
And it's whether that's economic factors, whether there's maybe a little bit of residual fear still of, what if there's another COVID outbreak and we're locked down again, which probably won't happen. But I think that has just, it allows people to manage their cash flow a lot better. Because obviously when you book far in advance, there's a deposit that needs to be paid. But when you do that, closer to the time, you have much more control over your budget. And in the times that we live in, interest rates going up, petrol prices are insane. That just makes more sense for people to make the decision closer to when they want to go away.
That makes sense.
Why do you think people would prefer going to a holiday resort as opposed to caravanning or camping or hiking or something like that?
We're lucky that we offer both. So obviously we've got the self-catering chalets and we do camping, so you can do either or at the resorts. And I think what we see is camping, while the actual stay is cheaper because you're paying for a stand, and that's a couple of $100 a night. I mean, it's not that expensive. To get yourself equipped could be quite expensive, depending on how comfortable you want to be when you start camping. Whether if you're just starting with a tent, to kind of test it out and see if camping is something that you would like to do. Even just a tent, a 2-man tent, a 4-man tent, if you're a family, with all the accoutrement can become quite expensive. And then you're not even talking about, the off-road trailers or the camping trailers, and then caravans, which, are caravans that cost as much as a car. So the initial setup for camping and caravanning can be quite expensive. Where obviously with a chalet, your stay, your per night cost is more. But then, you get to make your own food. There's you just bring yourself. Your swimming trunks. Let's not forget the swimming trunks.
Or forget it and get the best swimming trunks you'll ever have.
Or forget it and come buy them. Yeah, exactly. And just come and buy some of the really weird things we have in the stores.
Yes.
So that's mostly, I think, is the reason is if you then go to a resort, you bring yourself, and then you can decide what your expenses from there on out are. If you want to eat in a restaurant, you can. If you want to bring your own food, it's a lot cheaper, and you can prepare your own meals.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to have the experience of the comforts of home, at a high level, maybe like a 4-star level or a 5-star level. But I want to be able to do those things where a hotel room is kind of, it's cramped, it's cooped, right? You don't have the kitchen area. There's not a lounge area.
Yeah.
Where in a chalet, you've got all of that. You've got your bedrooms, there's a kitchen, there's a lounge, all that type of thing. And if you look at our new upgraded units, I mean, we've really leaned into that. We've got some amazing units now that really give that luxury home away from home sort of feel. And I think that's what people like. And then, I mean, you get to choose what you want to do. Obviously, there's all the facilities on the resorts, not just us. I mean, any resorts out there, you'll have pools, and there'll be, play areas for kids, and there'll be entertainment activities and all sorts of things that the resort will provide, which are normally free of charge. Not always, but normally those things are free to use, and you can do that. And then obviously, depending on where you're going, if it's a destination holiday you're after, if you're trying to explore a specific area, then there's a host of stuff for you to do around the resort. You drive outside the gates, and then suddenly, if you go to Drakensville, you're in the northern Drakensberg, and you can go to the amphitheater and the Drakensberg, boys choir, the Bushman cave paintings that are in the area. And I can talk about that, for every resort. There's all sorts of things that you can go and do. And I think that's what excites people now, is they don't just want to go on a holiday and sit around the pool. They want to go on holiday and experience things. They want new experiences, new activities, things they haven't done before.
And then would you say it's something that's more suited to families? Do you find way more families going as opposed to just couples?
Traditionally, that was the case. So a resort holiday would typically be something that you do as a family, and that's purely because it's more affordable. Again, with our resort specifically, we don't charge per person, we charge per unit. So, a unit is a 4-sleeper or a 6-sleeper or an 8-sleeper. That unit has a price, and we don't charge per head.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Where with a hotel, obviously, it's a little bit different. They would normally charge per person. And we used to see that, but now more and more and more, we're seeing couples, whether that be young couples or even senior citizen couples. Their kids have already left, their kids are in varsity or they're working already, they already have grandkids. And they come to the resorts. It's just the two of them. Again, being a senior citizen couple or a young couple. Because again, it's not just about being at the resort. It's about the stuff that's to do around where the resorts are situated. If you're going to Klein-Kariba, Zabula is not far from there, so you can go do the cheetah sanctuary, right? Yes. Or there's all the game drives you can go do in the area, all the golf courses that are there. Those amazing golf courses, especially the one at Zabula as well. So there's a lot of stuff to do in the area, and that's what the younger couples go for. Because they want those new experiences. So they're going out. I mean, if you want to go to Hartenbos, you guys mentioned that you've been there to Godini. Obviously, Godini, all of the wine farms, and you can go do Route 66, the chocolate tasting and everything else. You go to Hartenbos, you can go shark cage diving, you can go paragliding. So there's all sorts of stuff to do. So we're seeing a much better mix and a much younger mix than we did in the past.
Purely from a family standpoint, I can imagine how convenient it must be to take the little one through maybe just I'm imagining now my own situation, the wife, me, my son. It's going to be so easy if you need to find some entertainment. Just go to the water park or something like that. So I think to me, that's a big selling point. Just if you're tired of playing Cluedo in the 10th all time, a resort may just be a good solution for you.
And also, I think when they are that young, Kyle, I would rather go into a chalet than going camping. So, I mean, because I've had that experience.
I don't want to change a nappy on a sleeping bag at the bottom of a tent. Yeah, no.
And then, Reinhard, is there anything in between? Some people like the whole glamping idea. Do you offer anything like that at your resorts?
Yeah. And again, it's not just us. It is a sub-segment in the market that's been growing quite nicely. At quite a few of the resorts, we've got what we call tent houses. So these are 3- and 4-star sort of luxury units. They have air conditioning, so it looks like a tent from the outside, but it's got a concrete floor. No, it's really not a tent. It is not a tent. It's got its own bathroom, so there's no ablutions that you have to share. Yeah. You have a shower and a basin and a toilet, and they're very, very nicely appointed, very, very luxurious, and that is something that we've seen. Is something people want to try. Although you also have the opposite, right? So we see people, especially young people, wanting to do completely off the grid camping. So there's no electricity, there's no running water. Hulle wil daar in bos wees. And they bring their own stuff. They bring those outdoor showers that you set up yourself, and you've got an inflatable or like a water bladder that you bring with you that you fill up beforehand that you use. Again, no electricity, so it's gas only or battery operated sort of stuff that they bring with them. So it's kind of both. You're seeing glamping pick up nicely, and then there's also this off the grid sort of thing that the young people want to try.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of options, for each experience you're looking for, there's a resort for you. So let's chat about the different types of resorts and maybe a unique feature for each.
Sure. I think if we look at the 7 that we have, we're very blessed to have a very good mix of where they're situated. So while we have 7, and our CEO always jokes and says, man, he wishes we had one in each province. We're not there yet, but we are in some of the most beautiful parts of South Africa, right? And that's the other big selling point. And we work closely with SA Tourism and the Department of Tourism to, when we promote our resorts, it's not just to promote the resorts, but also promote the areas. Because there's lots of small businesses in those areas that we try and support, both from the resort side, but also when guests are on the resort, to tell them about all the things that you can do in the area. So if we start in the north of the country, there's three there. So we've got the one that's the most furthest north one. For Game of Thrones fans, north of the wall, it almost feels like it's that far.
Okay.
For the north
is Eland Spa, right near Letsitele, or in Letsitele near Tsenin. It's about a 45-minute drive from Tsenin. It's about an hour and a bit from the Kruger National Park. And that's right in citrus country, right? So if you drive around there, it's all the orange and the nachi and the other citrus fruit farms are around in that area. Lots of game farms, obviously, as well. And I think the key feature of Eland Spa is just it's remote. So if you're looking to really, really break away and be far away from civilization, and that's something that you're looking forward to doing, then that's definitely a resort for you. It's exceptionally quiet at night. To the point where if you're living in a chalet that's close to the boundary fencing, don't be surprised if you're seeing game walk around there.
Wow!
And there's all sorts of game. It's not just antelope. There's all sorts of animals that walk around there. And you'll hear lions at night. They're far away, obviously, but you'll hear them at night. Lots of jackals. So you'll definitely get that absolute quiet. It's one, that quiet where your ears ring. It's that quiet.
Okay.
You've got that geluid. It's that quiet at night.
Sounds
So it's really something that people enjoy. Then kind of closer to Gauteng here, we've got Klein Kariba and Buffelspoort. Both sort of what we also, we still call them bushveld resorts. Klein Kariba in the Waterberg Mountains. Again, a ton of stuff to do in that area. I think Klein Kariba itself has got a wealth of activities on the resorts, the heated pools and all the entertainment facilities and that sort of thing. But then I kind of mentioned it earlier, it's close to Zabula. There's a whole host of game farms in the area that do safari drives. There's golf courses, and then all sorts of attractions in the area, just around Bella Bella itself. Bella Bella is a small town, but there's quite a lot to do there as well. Local restaurants, the local township tours that you can do, that we work closely with the organizers of the Bella Bella township. And you can go do traditional cooking, traditional dancing. There's some arts and crafts that they teach you how to do it in the township itself. So there's a ton to do there as well. Then Buffelspoort in the Magaliesberg, close to Hartbeespoort Dam. It's not far from there. So if you want to go do stuff around Hartbeespoort Dam, Jasmijn and Van Galen, the cheese factory, and the Harties cable car to take up to the Magaliesberg Mountains. You're not far from Pilanesberg either, so it's a little bit further away, but it's not that far away. And then you're close to Sun City, right? It's about 85 kilometers from there.
Okay, yeah.
You can go to Valley of the Waves for a day if you wanted to go do that. If we move towards the eastern side of the country, kind of on your way to the coast, you can stop at Drakensville. I've mentioned that, so there's obviously a ton of stuff to do in the northern Drakensberg area. You then make your way to the coast of Natalia, to the KZN South Coast. I used to live there as well, Amanzimtoti, just a little bit further south of Amanzimtoti, Ilovo is ATKV and Natalia. And that kind of speaks for itself. You've got the beaches right there. If you want to go to Ushaka, you can do that. The Natal Sharks Board, you can go up further towards the north coast. If you're going to go spend a day in Mshlanga or Belito, you can do that. There's the Gateway Shopping Centre, which is huge. And again, a ton of stuff to do in the area. And you're at the coast. If you're at the beach, that should be your main focus, and everything else is extra. And then the two that we referenced earlier, Hartenbos and Gaudini. So obviously Hartenbos on the garden route. Again, wine farms, adventure activities, extreme sports activities, golfing. We just finished our golfing tour at Hartenbos, our garden route golf tour. Then you're playing some of the top courses in the country, right? Pinnacle Point and that sort of thing. So it's really, really an awesome experience for golfers to go there. Gaudini, as mentioned, all the wine farms in the area. You're in the Boerland. You can go through to Worcester and there's Swellendam and all those places, the beautiful architecture, historical buildings, and then again just kind of the cuisine. I think we kind of forget that. So if you have the opportunity, I know we're self-catering and you're doing your thing, you're having a braai, making breakfast in the morning on the gas, the gas bottle you brought with. But I mean, there's so much stuff to go and try out in the area in terms of food that you wouldn't normally necessarily get an opportunity to try. So that's always something we try and encourage people to do as well.
Reinhard, I think we should go do some traditional dance classes, you and I. And then the plan is I'm going to go home. I'm not going to tell my wife anything about it. And then just one night I'm going to break out in a traditional dance and shock her to her core.
No.
Yeah.
I was actually, you mentioned quite a few activities that the resorts offer, but I was wondering now, sort of, do you have things like he's mentioning now? Do you have certain classes or activities you can join in on, or shows? Does that happen at the resorts?
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that we do, and it depends on what time of year you're going, right?
Okay.
So the resorts that are really busy throughout the year, the Godinis and the Klenkaribas, they'll have even entertainment programs that run, off-peak weekends. So if you go there during the wintertime, there would still be something that's being presented around the pool. It might just be music, some games for the kids, and that sort of stuff. So, but then if you're going over December or kind of March, April, Easter weekends that are really, really peak periods, I mean, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, we've got people that come in from the outside, so we kind of bring some of the entertainment through to you. I'm thinking about things like the snake charmer that we bring through to some of the northern resorts, where he teaches you about all the different types of snakes that we have in this country. And he brings the snakes. If you wanted to see what a really, really big puff adder looks like, or some of the other venomous snakes, some of the non-venomous snakes, I mean, these things are huge. And it's quite the thing to see a professional, handle these right in front of your eyes. Adventure activities. I mean, you can go abseiling at Klenkariba. There's 4x4, the quad bikes that we also do at Klenkariba. Horse riding at 3 of the resorts. We provide horse riding, so you can just you go out into nature and you're on a horse, and we've got a guide that tells you about the area that you're in. And then we work with a lot of small businesses in the area, people that really offer really amazing, cool experiences. If I think about Mossel Bay, that new zip line that they have that goes over the ocean. And that's an incredible thing to go and do, right? That is really, really, I mean, I can't remember what the height is, but it feels like you're a couple of 100 meters above the ocean. It's the crashing waves over these rocks, and you're zip lining at I think it's 75 or 80 kilometers an hour that you're going. And when you reach kind of the fastest point of that zip line. So it's all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, if arts and crafts for the kids, adults, sports, all sorts of kind of traditional, wat hulle noem boeresport, all sorts of sports activities we provide. It's arts and crafts, it's the traditional stuff, and then like I said, we bring people in. So we either bring people in to come and show you what is available in the area, and then we do guided stuff out towards the community, and we take you to where all of these awesome things are available to do. So really a ton of stuff.
The idea of a holiday resort becoming a tradition for a family really intrigues me. The community that's forming each year. Do you have regulars, people who come every year, same spot, same resort, same time frame?
Oh yes, and don't mess with their ability to book a specific.
Moenie moet Susan se plot mors nie. Dis haar plek.
Sy gaan vir jou baie kwaad wees. No, we do, and we're very blessed in that respect. Is obviously the ATKV is also a member organization. One of the benefits that members have is that they get preferential bookings and they get a bit of a preferential rate. And remember, anyone can be a member, right? So it doesn't matter who you are. Anyone can be a member of the ATKV. And they really do support us throughout the year, the members. But they're also the ones that do exactly what you just spoke about. So we've got people that have, the easiest example is Hartenbos. As a family, or that member would have gone with their parents. So this becomes a generational thing. So they would have gone as a child with their parents, 50, 60, 70 years ago, they would have been going there as a young boy or girl. And then that tradition carries on. So we've got people that literally have camped at the same spot or on the same spot for 50 years or 55 years. They go to the same resort every year at the same time. And hulle soek daai plekkie. Now that becomes a bit of a problem as well, right? So we've had to bring in some rules to make it possible for more members to be able to go to the resort specifically over the December school holidays. But we definitely do have that. And then it's, you've got weird stories like, when Piet wants that specific stand because there's got this little tree on it, and that tree is used as a line anchor for one of the tents that the kids sleep in. But now over time, that tree grows taller, and now the branch isn't in the right spot anymore. And then he comes to the resort manager and says, "Hey, I need you to move a tree." And I'm like, "Well, we can't move a tree just for you because you need to use it as an anchor point." But that stuff happens. I mean, they literally set up the little plot that they're on to work for the equipment that they have. And they have a very specific preference. So, Tannie San wil nou in die middag wil sy nou haar wyntjie drink om die vuur, but she doesn't want the sun in her eyes, right? So the tent and the caravan needs to be positioned, because at that point of the day when she's now sitting around the campfire and she's sitting, she's having a glass of wine, if the caravan is in that spot, it blocks the sun. And that's why she wants that specific stand, because it's positioned in such a way that the caravan can be positioned in that way. So yeah, that definitely does happen, and we're blessed to have that. And we just, it's part of our attempt to, help families, build those memories, come and have those experiences, things that you're going to be talking about for years and years and years to come.
Can you imagine double booking Wim Piet's plot? Trial by combat. I think that's the solution.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
No, don't do that. We have, I'm not joking, we have very, very strict protocols in place to ensure that does not happen.
Reinhard, I think we mentioned before that, there has to be some sort of planning, especially if it's a long stay. Do you have any tips or tricks when it comes to that for people that are thinking about going to a resort, but say now for no more than that 2-week turnaround period? Maybe it's like for the whole December holiday.
I am not a person that that camps. So I'm going to be very, very hesitant to give advice on camping. What I can say is if people want to go to our YouTube channel, there's a whole series. Well, there's two series there, tips and tricks, where Simone and Francois, I can't remember the film that they were in. I think it was called Three Fools. Okay. The two of them did a whole series for us on camping tips and tricks, and that would be fantastic. We even got feedback from like hardened, gesoute kampeerders, and they went, they didn't know that this could work, and that's a great tip to save money or to make something easier. So that's something that they can go and do. What I can say is if you're planning on a school holiday trip, right? So that's going to be 2 or 3 weeks maybe that you're away from home. There's a couple of things that you need to take into account, especially if you're going with kids. So let's maybe use that as an example. Say, all right, you're going to be going away with kids. You've got two kids with you, and what we normally see is kind of one of those kids is going to be in primary school still. The other one might be in high school, or both are in primary school. But that's kind of the age range of our typical family guests. It's try and remember your routine that you have at home, because there are some things that you're always going to be continuing doing when you're on holiday, whether that is what time of the day you eat, the type of food that you enjoy, the type of drinks that you enjoy. Because remember, with the exception of a couple of the resorts, they're not close to metropolitan areas. So make sure you're packing those creature comforts, the things that you enjoy most. Remember to buy them beforehand, pack them and bring them with.
Okay.
Because you might struggle. Again, if you're, we've got shops at the resorts, but these are convenience stores, right? So we don't carry, large selection of products there. It's really the basics that we know that people sometimes forget, and we make sure we stock those. But if you're at Elan Spa and you have to drive an hour because you forgot your strawberry wheels, you don't want to be sad doing that, right? You want to drive, it's 2 hours and it's an hour to Tzaneen and an hour back to get your strawberry wheels.
That's
so
good
remember
advice.
to pack enough strawberry wheels. Yeah.
Especially with the kids, because it could spoil it for a teenager,
It could.
Spoil it for them or spoil it for you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's trying to remember what it is that you enjoy, that your kids enjoy, some of your routines that you bring with you from home. Because again, when you're staying in a chalet, it's like your house. And some of those routines you have at home are still going to carry through even while you're on holiday. And then it's the basics, right? On our website, you can go, there's a blog post there. It's got a nice little checklist there that you can use. You can print it out or just kind of, download it to your phone. And that'll give you a nice view of kind of the essentials, really things that you shouldn't forget, sunscreen, hats, sunglasses, all that sort of thing. Decide how you want to treat valuables. Some of the resorts, we have safes in the room. Some of them, not all the units are equipped with safes. How do you use? Do you want to leave them in the car? Or do you have a specific place that you're going to be putting them? So it's because you don't want to sit around the pool and then suddenly start worrying. Where do we put this and where do we put that? You might be going on a workation. So it could be that you're away for 2 weeks. It could be you've got young children, they aren't in school yet. You are going to want to work from one of the resorts for a week or 2 weeks. We have Wi-Fi at all the resorts that people can use. It's free to use. And, pack your chargers. Make sure you've got chargers for all your devices. Make sure that you have backups for whatever, because, load shedding is a thing everywhere. And while we have generators at the resorts, technical requirements might not always be sufficient for your use, or the times of day might be an issue. So it's trying to remember all of those little things, but particularly what we found is favorite snacks becomes an issue. Don't forget clothing. Don't forget specific devices and equipment, batteries, chargers, that sort of stuff, because that becomes the issue. And you're far away from metropolitan areas. Yeah, in some cases not so far, and you could make the trip if you want to. But it's really trying to think about what your day is going to be like. And look, my wife and I, we're very impulsive. So while we will plan the holiday, like when it's going to happen and where we're going to be going to, more than that, we don't really think about. Once we get there, we'll decide what we're going to be doing. And if you're okay with doing that and you have forgotten something, you either kind of make do without it, or you substitute in some way. And that's the other fun thing, because sometimes those happenstances create memories that you're going to be remembering forever. I remember that time we went to this place and we forgot the thing, and we had to do this, that, the next thing to kind of make things work. So those are also interesting memories and experiences that one can have when you do that. But yeah, I think it's mostly it's remember what your favorites are, remember things that are important to you, remember what your routines are, and do a quick Google search. Go to our website. Hey, you can use ChatGPT. Tell me what the things are that I should pack before I go on a resort self-catering holiday. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be able to give you a nice list.
So Reinhard, as life is, things don't always go to plan. And I'm sure you've got a few fantastic stories to share. It could be a good story, something that went great on one of the resorts, but, we also prefer the more interesting stories, where something doesn't go as planned.
There are.
Fantastic.
And now I'm wondering if I can anonymize these to the point where people are going to go, hey, that was me. Okay, so we're quite blessed that we get to work with a number of production companies that they produce TV shows, right? And the resorts are a perfect venue for them, depending on kind of obviously the type of show. But we've shot movies. There was a movie called Kampterrein, which was it was almost, I think 80% of the movie was shot on Buffelspoort. But then we've got very nice cooking shows and other types of shows that have been filmed at the resorts. And I remember I won't name names or the show itself, but I remember we had a film crew at one of the resorts. They were doing a cooking show, and as you do, you have to make sure that if members of the public are going to be in some of the shots, that you get their permission. So they have to know, and they have to then sign a release form. So, right, I acknowledge that you are shooting this thing, and that's mostly for payment, right? So someone can't come afterwards and say, hey, you've used me, you didn't tell me about this, I need to be paid for the fact that I was in the background as an extra or something. So it's mostly for that. But it's also an indemnity form to say, hey, look, you can't hold us responsible for when and where this is broadcast. So anyway, the producer was walking around. They were shooting in one of the camping grounds or the camping sites at one of our resorts. And the shot that they were going to do was kind of a wide angle shot. So there's going to be quite a few stands with caravans and the associated towing vehicles that would be in the shot. So he was walking around to the people and handing out the forms and saying, look, we're filming this show. The camera is going to be pointing in this direction. If you're comfortable, you can sign this form and you can just kind of, do your normal thing. Or if you don't want us to film you, please let us know. So he gets to one of the caravans, and the gentleman, he knocks on the door. The gentleman comes out, and he says, look, sir, this is what's happening. Would you mind signing the form? And he says, oh, he doesn't have a problem. We can, you can sign the form. He just has one question. He's seen in other shows that, if a car is shown, then they blur out the number plate. Is that something that they would do if it so happens that the number plate is going to be, visible in the shot? It's like, no, we can, we'll definitely do that. We don't want to, show people's personal information, and registration number is something to that effect. And the gentleman signs the thing, and just as the producer is about to walk off, he says, oh, and there's a reason why I'm asking. And he says, yeah. He says, no, because, he's not necessarily supposed to be here, and there's a person with him that isn't necessarily his wife.
May or may not be.
Okay.
And unsolicited, right? So the producer's like, okay, you didn't have to tell me any of that, and you could have just stayed in the caravan and no one would ever have known. So the fact that you're telling me means that you have some soul searching to do, right? and that sort of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of really cool things that happen. I mean, we've had people that have met at the resorts as young people, teenagers, or as students, and went on to go, to get married. We've had kind of lifelong friendships formed, or I can call it lifelong frenemies. We were speaking earlier about specific camp stands. And that happens, right? So there's competition for a specific stand. And two families, only got to know each other because of the fact that they've been camping next to each other for 10, 20, 30 years. But they're always in competition for that one stand. That's the perfect spot, right? Where you have this beautiful sea view. And every year you kind of see it. In the past, we used to, this is not a joke. This is true story. We used to allow people to, members. So remember, I said earlier, members have preferential rates, but there's also specific times of year where members can book before the general public can. And one of those periods is for the December school holidays, right? So the 1st to the 14th of November of every year, members get to book for that period before the general public does. And in the past, before COVID, we would allow people to go to the resorts or come to head office and make that booking in person. So we open at 7 in the morning. There's a queue that forms. I mean, I was normally in charge of that, right? So I would be at head office. I'm not kidding. Like there's 40, 50, 60 cars parked outside in the street, and there's a queue of people. There's like 100 people standing there, and we had to devise a whole system. We had like a numbering system. We'll give everyone a little number. That's their number in the queue, and they get a little form they have to fill in with what their preferences are, which resorts they want to book at, which dates, which camping stand, all that sort of stuff. And you would see the battle as soon as that gate opens, the front gate opens at our offices, people storming to be first, right? Because if you're first, you get to speak to one of the agents, one of the booking agents first, and you get to book the stand that you want. And you'd hear the chirping in the queue. Yeah, you were doing this, that, the next thing, to make sure that people would pitch up at 2 in the morning.
Wow.
They would start parking in the street at 2 in the morning. We had a problem at one of the resorts. Again, I won't mention too many details. They would camp out on the sidewalk. The previous evening, they'd sleep in sleeping bags. They'll have little camping chairs outside. They'd park out, sleep on the sidewalk so that they were first in line the next morning when bookings opened, so that they could book first. So it's little treasures like that. I think there are some stories that I can't tell, so I'll refrain from those. Little treasures thing. And that's what makes a resort holiday so much fun. Now, on the one hand, for us, we get to see some weird, wonderful, and amazing things, but also for the guests, because I mean, it's these types of things that you won't soon forget, and those memories become treasured memories, and they become something that becomes either an inside joke within a family, or you become the butt of a joke in your family for what you did. And it's across age groups as well. If I think about, it's at Klein Kariba, I think this would now be the 10th year or the 9th year that we're doing it. We have the Studentejol, right? So we've got hundreds of matriculants and first years that descend upon the resort the first week of December.
Reinhard, I love how your tone changes. Hundreds of students.
It's a lot, and I've been fortunate to attend 2 of them, and the one I clearly remember is just as you guys know Jan Blokhuis, right? Just as he broke out and he became very popular. It's the 2 songs, right? It was Ek hou van kaas bra was the first sort of single, and then it was Netflix and chill. Yeah. Right, and I was sitting in the VIP area where the stage was, and he had just come on, and I mean, again, hundreds of 18 and 19-year-olds standing in front of the stage, and they are just salivating for this guy to start his set. Almal wil net skree ek hou van kaas, bra. And it's lighting. We've got drones going. I mean, you must see this footage afterwards. It's lasers and lights, and it's drones flying over this crowd of people. It's incredible. And I remember sitting there and watching. I think they did a count at some point. There was 600 people. Everyone jumping up and down in rhythm to Ek hou van kaas, bra. In die middel van die nag, bra. And that is something that's quite special to see, right? It's not something you get to see every day.
Yeah.
And his third song was Netflix and Chill, and that's the same thing. I mean, it's just got 600, 700 kids just shouting the song back at him. And I remember him walking off the stage, and his eyes were wide. It was kind of one of the first kind of public sets that he's done with his songs. And I mean, I'm not sure if it was fear, nervousness, excitement, like all of it rolled into one, but the smile was ear to ear. His eyes were bigger sources, and it was just going, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And he was just on a high, and he really, really enjoyed it. And the kids enjoyed it as well.
How do you explain to the older visitors that, right, listen, there are a few hundred students here. It's going to be crazy. Are you sure you want to stay this week?
Oh, we warn them well in advance.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So if you book in that week, the first thing we tell you is, please remember, we're going to have a bunch of matriculants here. And they go, okay, so where are they? And sometimes they want some details. Other times the first thing that goes, okay, no, so what's the next date? They don't even ask in terms of what the logistics are going to be. It's like, no, I don't want to be be in the middle of that, so I'll take a different date.
Reinhard, like in 15, 20 years' time, all those matriculants are going to be back with their kids.
You're asking, is this the weekend the matriculants are here?
Exactly. They're the ones that go, ek was daar. I know what it's like. I don't want to be there in that week. Now that's exactly why we do it, right? So it is for us. It's a way for us to start cultivating those memories, even under teenagers, to say, hey, we want to be part of your family. We want to be a place that you go to go build those memories, and where you bring your firstborn, where you teach them how to swim, where they ride their bikes, in the evenings as the braai fire is going, and where you build those memories, because that's what our results are for. I mean, our slogan is for perfect family holidays, and we want to be that first choice destination where people go to go build those memories and experience things that they wouldn't if they stayed at home on a holiday.
The outdoor life is for everyone. And our clothes are too. It's made to last in the sun, wind and weather. Whether you're fishing, hiking, camping or going to work. Get all your favorite brands like First Ascent, Cape Storm, African Nature, High-Tech and Columbia all under one roof. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. Also shop online.
For Every Adventure podcast, bringing you all the tips and tricks for your next adventure.
So Reinhard, let's chat about a few must-haves, a few goodies you need to take with you when you go on a holiday resort trip. So the first thing I think about, because red hair, I have light skin, I burn so quickly, is a good hat. You need a good hat. And
Yes.
I see Outdoor Warehouse as the urban beach bush hat, which I sort of think is a nice multi-purpose product, whether you're on the bush or at the beach. Just make sure that the sun isn't burning you too much, huh?
Definitely. I mean, if I look at typically what you would see around the resorts, especially kind of, summer weekends, school holidays, all the ooms and tannies next to the swimming pool, right? And I mean, while we do provide shade in some instances, they bring their gazebos, they bring their beach umbrellas. You really do need a good hat, something that covers your neck, and that's normally very important. Just make sure you cover the back of your neck, and then obviously something to keep the sun out of the eyes, because you don't want sunglasses tan. That's never a cool look to sport, right? You've got this white rim around your eyes where your sunglasses were, because you weren't wearing a hat. So yeah, I mean, look, it's something that we have to also be serious about. So we just make sure you cover your face, make sure you cover your neck, and a good hat will definitely help do that.
Do you remember those hats? It's like a normal hat, but it had a flap at the back, which you could like loosen, and it sort of hangs. Yeah, we need to bring that back.
Yeah, I remember those.
Your style.
I remember those.
I think for me, it's always about keeping the kids off their devices. And, you've got to get some things for them to do. Like there's beach bats, for instance, at Outdoor Warehouse. I don't think people would think about that. But there's a couple of games like fingerboard, that sort of thing that you can take with to make sure that they, don't go back to their phones or tablets.
Leave them to their own devices.
You and your pun.
That was a good one. I really think so. What would you recommend maybe a family brings with from an entertainment point of view? I mean, you do supply a lot of entertainment, but things like that, like a little ball and a bat, go play on the beach, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that we've seen kind of over the years. And if you just think about like recently, I think is it called paddleball?
I think so.
Yes,
The one with the pole and then
You've seen that, right?
No, that's swing ball.
Yeah,
Swing
it's
ball.
kind of like that's swing ball, paddle ball. It's kind of a cross between badminton, tennis, handball, squash. It's become very, very popular worldwide. Just around the area where I live here in Johannesburg, they're building multiple
Courts,
venues
yeah.
with indoor courts and outdoor courts. Look, what we have at the resorts, many of the resorts have tennis courts. We have big open areas of grass. So bringing any sort of ball sport, whether it's a rugby ball, a soccer ball, kind of, like you said, the beach cricket bat with a soft ball. So any of those sort of outdoor activities really work well. Frisbees, that sort of thing. Obviously not in between the camping areas. As you know, if it won't beat with the frisbee in die kop gooi, gaan nou nie baie happy wees nie.
Don't do it.
But we've got open areas where people can do that, and then at in the convenience stores we'll sell a whole host of stuff, and then board games. If you have board games, fingerboard, you mentioned that as well. That's something that works really well, because again, the weather is the weather, and there's nothing much we can do about the fact that it starts raining on the day you arrive and doesn't stop until you leave. So it's something you have to kind of take into account, and just make sure that you do have some indoor stuff that you can do, and board games are a great way to do that.
I have two things that are, to me, are really important. Now, this might sound obvious, but a decent pair of flip-flops, because if you're going to be walking around a lot, it needs to be comfortable. It can't be worn through very quickly. And the other thing is a good throne to place yourself in at the end of a long day at the resort.
you're
A
all
nice
about the
camping
camping
chair.
chair.
Yes. So listen, Outdoor Warehouse has a great variety of both flip-flops and a few camping chairs. Huh?
Which of the flip-flops do you like?
I would recommend the Rip Curl Men's Soft Sand Sandal. It looks great. It's durable, and you'll definitely have the coolest flip-flops in Hartenbos if you go for that one. And from a camping chair perspective, the Natural Instincts Platinum Oversized Deluxe heavy-duty chair with pockets, because that's important. You need to put your stuff in the pocket, and you need a good cup holder for the soft drink.
He knows what he wants. I would say take a look there at the website and sort of just pick the one that's most comfortable for you. For me, another thing is a little speaker, because you want to sort of, have a vibe, a vibe in your chalet. It's a vibe. So also at Outdoor Warehouse, they have, quite a couple. There's like the Soundcore Flare 2 speaker, like one of those that you can easily pack in and just take along with you. I bought the JBL waterproof one for myself. It's a tiny little one, but it's got amazing sound. It's always important, Kyle.
Yes. You need the good sound for the good vibe. Well, thanks a lot, Reinhard. This was a nice chat, and I'm excited to go to the nearest resort and spend a few weeks maybe there. And I will remember not to go to Piet's Plot. Just right.
Don't do it.
No frisbees close to one Piet. Okay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Thanks, guys.
it.
I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for listening. Make sure wherever you are, whenever you listen, make a plan to get outside and to experience nature. And remember to follow us on Spotify and Apple. And make sure to tune in every 2 weeks For Every Adventure.
Join the For Every Adventure podcast as we explore the great outdoors.